Okay, well, we all know you can sow carrots out in the open plot, but sometimes if the soil's too cold they don't germinate very well. Sometimes you might have an open plot, so you just want to sow a few to grow on your balcony or on your patio, and they're perfectly okay in pots. They grow quite well, in fact. Sort of pot you need if you want to try some is something nice and deep. If you're going to grow a deep rooted carrot, of course, it doesn't have to be deep if you're going to grow some of the sort of little stump rooted or round rooted carrots. But I've got, this is a sort of old florist bucket that you can get from some of the supermarkets. They'll get the cut flowers in them and sell them off, and you can go and get them sort of quite cheaply for a pack of 10 or 5. Drill some holes in the bottom, got yourself a pot. Or some of the garden centres have cottoned on as well. They sell this size of pot quite cheaply too, for sort of 99p, something like that. Ideal for growing carrots. Of course you could grow them in any sort of patio container you like, but I like these because, as I say, nice and deep, nice deep root run. Already filled it with some multi-purpose compost. Doesn't need to be anything special. Ordinary multi-purpose grow bag compost would be fine if you wanted to tip out a grow bag into the pots. Again, not straight into a grow bag for carrots because there isn't a root run, but into a pot like this. So already filled it, already just tamped it down a little bit. I'm just going to sieve a little bit of soil over the top, a little bit of compost I should say, just to make a nice surface for the seeds. A bit more. Again, once you've done some sieving and you've got some lumpy bits in the sieve, don't waste those, they go in the bottom of the next pot to add drainage. So just made a nice surface on the top there to sow the carrots. What shall we sow today? I'm going to sow some early nants because it's still quite early in the season, and it's a fast maturing carrot, nice long roots. Ideal for a pot like this. Lots of others I've got here. Just showed you the Paris Market, the round rooted carrots, ideal for containers, but the sky's the limit really. We've got some purple ones, some rainbow ones, all different colours, different anthocyanins in those, different things, chemicals inside them if you like, which are very good for you, which sort of anti-cancer chemicals in those. But anyway, going to sow some early nants. The key with sowing carrots in a pot is to sow them very thinly. If you sow them too thickly they compete and you just get tiny little wiry roots which are no good to anyone really. So a few seeds in your hand, and then we'll just sow these really lightly over the top. If you hold your hand up a little bit then they sort of bounce when they hit the compost and sort of naturally scatter themselves a bit. You don't want too many, so if you can allow about an inch between them, ideally half an inch. A little bit thick in places here, but I have to even those out afterwards. And really that's probably more than enough. If they all come up, then of course you can thin them out. You don't have to leave them all in there. And the idea is, of course, that as they grow you can keep thinning, eat the thinnings as you get nice little pencil-sized roots, and leave the rest to grow. So eventually you'll end up with nearly full-size roots, probably not as big as they would be on the open ground, but still some very nice roots indeed. So a bit more sieving to do here, just to cover them up lightly. That's it. And then just label them, water them. Don't need any heat, no heat at all. If you've got somewhere sheltered, perhaps a cold frame or just a wall next to the house, you could just put perhaps a bit of polythene or glass over there just until they germinate if it's early in the year. But otherwise you can just put them on the patio. They'll germinate in about 2 weeks. If they have, as I say, if you have oversown and you've got any clumps, just thin those out as they grow. Keep them well watered, that is important. Anything in a container must keep it well watered. It's relying on you for its water, because even if it's outside close to a wall and it rains, it doesn't always get enough, especially when you've got lots of leaves over the top and the rain just falls off. So do make sure that you water them and check them every day. Other than that, they'll grow very well usually in a pot like that, and you'll have some nice carrots even if you've only got a patio or a balcony.